right, so we are back with the LRA, Liga Runaterra de las Americas, and I am super excited to be bringing you guys two pretty awesome games here with my man Boulevard casting as per usual. First up, we're going to have xTacio versus Void here, and Void from Team OTK, xTacio from Team Gears. And interestingly enough, so it looks like we have a lot of people that brought three aggro deck lineups to this particular week. So we'll see how that pans out for the people that did bring those decks. But without further ado, let's go ahead and get into game one of week 4 here. xTacio versus Void.
All right, we got Nightfall versus War Mothers here for game number 1. SJW, how you feeling about this one?
As we get over to the game, sorry about that delay, everybody. We're here. We have made it. I'm feeling pretty good. I'm actually pretty excited to see this game happen right now because we don't always get a whole... Oh, I don't know why that just happened there. Why do I have... Hold on one second, everybody.
All right, in the meantime, I don't know if you guys can see the game. I'm just going to try to cast as I can. So, Tacio has a kind of a slow rolly hand. He is on curve, but that's actually not really what you want with a Nightfall deck because then you're not getting the activators down. I actually am a little surprised that he went to play the Dusk Petal Dust in order to make this an elusive unit, as I don't think War Mothers is a matchup where I really care that much about this guy being elusive, especially since either I'm going to have to take off turn 3 now or I can't get down this Crescent Guardian, which I feel like is one of the best early aggressive tools for the Nightfall aggro deck. Void's not really going to have anything that can deal with a 5-3 Overwhelm. I don't think there's Grasp of the Undying in this deck. It's not something we've seen. Oh, he actually is running a couple copies. Doesn't have any in the hand, though, but, I mean, all these 3 health units are going to survive the Avalanche. It was a little curious to see that as the only card that Void kept in the opening hand, but does pick up a Whale alongside it so that he can actually go ahead and clear out these big boards that Tacio is going to be building up.
All right, sorry about that. Found a workaround. Unfortunately, Resolution's not always playing well here. But it does look like xTacio has a lot of Nightfall cards. So
yeah.
That sometimes can be a disadvantage when you start using all of them, or disadvantage if you have only Nightfall cards. Now you're kind of forced to, you have to play one Nightfall card without the Nightfall effect just to be able to activate one of the other ones. So we'll see how xTacio navigates here if he does draw into something else that's maybe not a Nightfall card. But for the time being, this Vile Feast is not just healing for 1, it's also preventing, very crucially, this 4 damage. So this is a big Vile Feast coming out from Void.
All right, that was actually really good patience on the side of Void, understanding that there's still a lot of 3 health units to come on the side of Tacio, and he needs to save that Withering Wail for a combination with the Avalanche. But I do also want to praise Tacio for understanding that, you know, the Avalanche Vile Feast was something Void was representing and not throwing down that Crescent Guardian pre-combat, because if he had done that and the Crescent Guardian came down, Void could have Avalanched, and then if he really wanted to, could have Vile Feasted the elusive unit to completely clear the board by blocking that Crescent Guardian, or could have just killed the Crescent Guardian and left Tacio with nothing but a 2-1 elusive.
Yeah, and with Void burning that 1 mana there that we just saw, you got to think he's probably trying to hang on to that 4 mana no matter what. We see the Trundle come out, still has 4 mana. So no matter what xTacio does, Void kind of has this fallback plan of, all right, I can play Avalanche to at least mitigate some of the aggression here from xTacio going into next turn. On top of that, we have the Trundle, where the Avalanche won't really do too much to the Trundle because it will regenerate there with that regenerate tag. And we already have an early War Mothers too, so pretty good shot of getting it off here as we go into turn 9. As usual, would be the earliest turn to get it off. The problem is usually the turn that you play War Mothers, you lose a lot of tempo, and that would be an opening for xTacio to go ahead and get back into this game and just kind of summon everything to the board for a big turn. So we might have to wait a while on this War Mothers.
Yeah, something that Tacio is going to have to play out for them here if he wants to go for it is the Nocturne gives a permanent vulnerable. So if you wanted to... I thought he was going to go for the Spiderling, actually, as I do think killing that theoretically represents more damage. But, I mean, you are an aggro deck. Going for the face doesn't feel too bad either. But, I mean, while you're not going to actually take the Trundle off the board as a blocker with the Nocturne through, you know, it's still going to be too high of an attack target to actually, get underneath the fearsome units, but it is something that you can constantly drag to the side with one of your kind of throwaway units. But I mean, the board not looking super safe into an avalanche is going to get fired off here and just set up for that withering whale on the following turn.
Yeah, and on the side of xTacio, this isn't too bad, mainly because he is able to keep that Crescent Guardian there, like we see, and that prevents the Trundle from being able to attack because the Trundle is now within kill range of the Crescent Guardian. So pretty good play by xTacio, I think, by still getting that Crescent Guardian down to stick. And now following it up with the Diana as well. This should be a decent turn now that the Avalanche is out of Void's hand, but Withering Whale is a thing, and Void is probably looking at it like it's pretty damn juicy right now. We'll see if xTacio commits anything else.
I think if Tacio has the read onto the Withering Whale, he can go ahead and throw down the Nocturne here and then pull that Trundle to the side with one of his 1 health units that he knows is going to die anyway. And the Diana and Nocturne will represent a lot of damage. Void is actually going to have to commit the Withering Whale pre-combat. Mostly to stop the Nocturne level up, as that would give him a lot of extra damage. I think it would be 11 coming at the face, which would put you in lethal range of the Doom Beast, if we're not counting the heal from the Withering Whale. So things do get a little bit dicey from here on out, but it looks like Tacio rather is maybe contemplating just going for this attack before Void can actually, clear out the turn. But it looks like the Nocturne is going to come down, and I do like the Nocturne coming down. Mm-hmm. Void has to play this Withering Whale pre-combat, though, which is going to get a lot more enticing if the Onlooker's the play, but it is the Nocturne committed.
Yeah, no, that's a very big difference now on the side of xTacio, being able to get that Withering Whale out pre-combat. Unfortunately, doesn't do as much as it could have done, forcing that out pre-combat if xTacio did still have some mana to play additional units. So I do like Void, recognizing that he does have to go ahead and get this out. Unfortunately, won't kill the Trundle either, pulling it with either the Nocturne or the Diana. So if we are going to go ahead and see xTacio push 5 damage here, it's going to be at the cost of Diana or Nocturne, and not willing to make that sacrifice, it looks like.
So I think if he wanted to level the Nocturne, he had to attack with both units and just really wasn't willing to lose his Diana in that situation. But I don't know if that was the correct play, as now that we are on the pillar turn, and that means Trundle is going to start to clean up a lot of these units. Does have the Diana's Pale Cascade in order to actually kill the Trundle, but that pillar is still a big nuisance as long as your Nocturne is unleveled. It doesn't give all of your units fearsome just yet. Maybe it'll level on the next attack turn, and that'll be enough, but Cygnus the Moonstalker also in the hand. Is he going to be able to leave the mana up to actually activate that unit? And he will, as he top decks the Solari Soldier.
Well, so I think what xTacio is going for now, and this makes sense. I think he's realizing he kind of has to go for just one big swing turn, some sort of OTK kill. We do have Cygnus and Diana. If we got something like an Atrocity, which unfortunately is only in Void's hand right now, not xTacio's. Yeah. And actually, because I can't look at the deck list, is Tacio playing at least one Atrocity? Don't tell me.
You know he's not.
Oh,
he's
my
not.
God. Why? I feel like
they still haven't figured it out.
The decks that we have seen perform well with Nightfall aggro have played Atrocity. We saw Cephalopod playing a version of it in the Ascent of Targon that had Atrocity that did pretty well. Obviously, he made it pretty far in the Ascent of Targon. So, unfortunately, not seeing that. I was going to say Cygnus into Diana into Atrocity, but now you might just have to go with Cygnus into a really juicy Diana, but we don't have nearly enough Nightfall cards or cards in general to be able to actually pull that off.
No, but I mean, there's still potential for Tacio to win this one. I mean, anytime you can get a Stalking Shadows into a Doom Beast that is representing 4 damage, but the Icequake here is just going to be lethal on the side of Void. There's nothing you can do about that. And that, I mean, that Troll Chant came in big. Anytime that Void is going to be able to sit around on that Trundle for multiple turns, there's almost no way. I'm surprised Tacio didn't snap concede here. I don't think he can get back into this one now.
I was going to mention that earlier too, but that Icequake, but just we ended up talking about something else. And on top of the Icequake, the Grasp, the Catalyst of Aeon, like, okay.
Why did you say it like Grasp?
I don't know. I don't, because it's just like there's so many options in Void. Like War Mother's versus any aggro lineup, typically, it's either going to not draw its heal or its removal tools, and the aggro deck just steamrolls it. Or, generally speaking, it does draw the heal that it needs and the removal that it needs, like we saw here with Void, and it actually steamrolls the aggro. I'd say it's probably maybe like a 75-25 matchup where the War Mothers generally would win that. But, I mean, that's what we saw there, right? Withering Whale, Grasp. We had
I'll tell you what we saw there. We saw Atrocity and Atrocity. No Shadow Isle players.
See? It's a good card. That proves it right there. The card you should have played to win, you're now losing to, unfortunately. But now we do get to see Fiora Shen versus this same Nightfall deck. We'll see if Nightfall can pick up a win. I think this might be decently difficult for xTacio to get a win here as well if Void is able to get some units down. And we do already see a 2-3-4 curve here and a Spirit's Refuge for some lifesteal. This is not looking good already for xTacio.
No, and xTacio's hand isn't particularly strong. It does open with that Behold the Infinite that he's playing instead of Atrocity. And I know that players have been gravitating towards this kind of... Because, I mean, we've had people come into chat all the time and tell us, oh, Nightfall's not an aggro deck, it's actually a mid-range deck. And when you do put in sort of that extra Celestial Generation in the Behold the Infinite rather than something like the Lunari Priestess, I'm still not really going to call you an aggro deck. Nothing in your deck except for one card costs more than 3 mana.
Yeah, I'm not... It's aggro. It's aggro.
It's still aggro to me.
Aggro.
I mean, sure, you can walk a mid-range line and sort of get some agency in mid-range matchups, but you're still an aggro deck. And now we actually are going to see, oh, look, this big aggro. Like, this isn't a mid-range card. You can't look me in the eye and tell me that Stygian Onlooker goes in a mid-range deck.
No, absolutely not. And the amount, just the fearsome units in general, like, I don't think you can classify any sort of fearsome deck as a mid-range deck. And you could argue that Wraiths are mid-range because they are kind of mid-rangey for what they do, but generally they're played in aggressive deck archetypes. And yeah, it's aggro. But as far as aggro is concerned right now, this is looking rough again for xTacio. We are going to see a super aggressive couple of turns here because of this Fading Memories, because of this. We have the 4-1 with Overwhelm on the field. We have another Stygian Onlooker. But yeah, these barriers and the Spirit's Refuge that xTacio doesn't even know about yet, it's just going to make this really hard.
And Void even still is representing deny mana if there was something like an Unspeakable Horror to come out of Tacio to try and pop that barrier, but isn't even going to try to bluff it. Says, you know what, actually, I'm just going to go in with the elusive unit. And I think that Void has a pretty good shot at actually taking this one away with the Fiora win condition. Yep. Will have to get that Shen down and does it in record fashion. And I mean, Void should know that he is completely safe from anything like an Unspeakable Horror, barring a top deck out of Tacio, or he probably would have gone for that play last turn, even though Void was representing the deny mana.
Yeah, this is insane. I mean, this Shen can just freely attack too, and there's no way that anybody can block it, or they could, but it's not going to kill the Shen. So we're just getting free barriers for Fiora, free kills for Fiora, and that means you're going to get a free win with Fiora.
Yeah, I mean, there was the potential for like a Pale Cascade and a block from the Charger to come out of Tacio. But I mean, as you'd mentioned, Void has that Spirit's Refuge. He's got enough barrier spells to make sure that this Fiora win con is a very realistic thing to do. And I mean, Tacio needs to find that one Cygnus the Moonstalker, or we'll see if he can get a big Nocturne turn here. But I mean, it's so hard to level Nocturne when you're not attacking with anything except for your one Lunari Shadestalker.
Oh, man. So, again... And I feel like a broken record every time I talk about this Nightfall aggro deck. I just feel like this is what we generally see out of this deck. I think we saw Cephalopod pilot it incredibly well in the Ascent to Targon tournament. But generally speaking, I think this is the sort of performance that you get out of this deck because it has so many poor matchups like this Barrier deck, like the War Mother's deck. It's just really hard for it to put through enough aggression early on to win the game. And we have now...
Hold on, this could be lethal out of Tacio because this is going to level the Nocturne because we attacked with the Shadestalker earlier. It's going to give all of the units Fearsome.
Is that enough for lethal? Did it stop me right in my tracks of again talking crap about this deck? 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12.
No, you have the Riposte. You have the Riposte.
Wait. Oh, okay, yeah, the Riposte will give you a blocker. And you actually have Riposte plus Spirit's Refuge.
Yeah, if you really need it, but I think you should be fine with just this. Yeah, I like throwing it onto the Nocturne. Kill that. It looks like we are going to go for the Spirit's Refuge as well. Okay.
Oh, this will buff up. Oh, this actually... Yeah. This is going to give 2 blockers plus lifesteal. So this is amazing.
Oh, and actually puts it on the bigger one as well and just wants to use this one as a blocker. I think the 2/2 makes a fair amount of sense, and it looks... Oh, my. Wow. When all is said and done, yeah, Void is actually going to still be at 14 HP.
See, you had me worried. I was all ready to give my speech about how Nightfall aggro underperforms again, and you're like, but wait, there could be game on the board. But nope. As usual, we see the lifesteal come out. We see the tools come out to keep Void in the game. And even if xTacio is able to do something here, I don't think it's going to be enough. Yeah, this is just not enough.
Ooh, I don't actually know how I feel about this because that was not an unspeakable horror. That was a Nocturne's unspeakable horror. And when you already have the leveled Nocturne in hand, I feel like that is actually your best bet at winning the game. I mean,
Actually,
the Fiora would have gone up to a 3 out of 4.
yeah, and
Right, 2 out of 4.
I agree with you. He's got 2 Stygian Onlookers in hand. Those are just asking to be played alongside Nocturne. That's 2 summons. That's 3 fearsome units. Well, everything's fearsome anyways with Nocturne on the board. That could have been a pretty big swing. But I mean, I don't know if it's actually going to matter after this turn anyways, especially with the deny in hand still. But I got to agree with you. I would have kept the Nocturne.
I mean, so your concern is the Fiora win con because Fiora would have gone to, halfway leveled there. She would have gone to the 4/4, or halfway to the win con rather, would have leveled. And then next turn I get a Shen Fiora attack off. That puts me at 3 out of 4. But I feel like, then we kind of play this game of on Tassio's next attack turn, we go for this massive Nocturne turn. And then if you do have something to buff up the Fiora, like another Riposte, then yeah, you get the block off and you win the game. But I mean, now I feel like I don't actually even have the opportunity to try and take that 50-50 of do you have the answer or don't you? Because, I mean, what was the plan, Tassio? How are you going to get through this board?
So that's one of those, the age-old question of do you play to win or do you play not to lose? And I think in this case, Tassio played not to lose because I don't think you can afford to wait any more than 2 more turns to try to win this game, because then Void, as we're seeing now with the River Shaper, is just going to get tool after tool after tool after tool into his hand to avoid losing and to eventually take this game away. Whereas if Tassio was playing to win on that turn, keeping the Nocturne plus the Stygian Onlookers, plus, we see the Pale Cascade in hand as well, that had signs of potential OTK in them. Even though it might have been bleak, because obviously, Void's going to have a lot of responses to that as well, like single combat and stuff, it was still a chance. And now I just don't think there's any chance for xTacio.
And Void even threw out the deny onto that unspeakable horror. I don't think he was necessarily concerned about the 1 damage in the free card, but there's really not a lot to deny in a matchup like this. But since Void has the board, he can go ahead and not really commit any additional units. Like, can just block pretty much everything other than that Lunari on the side of Tassio, and Void's feeling pretty good. He got the deny value. He denied basically a card and a half.
Yeah, I mean, we do have 2 Pale Cascades in hand on the side of xTacio. So maybe there's some... Okay, never mind. I was going to say maybe there's some shenanigans with some other, Cygnus or something like that. But we are still getting... Okay.
That's a prime target.
All right. So maybe this... Okay, I keep with that statement then. Maybe we have some shenanigans with some Pale Cascades, some elusive attacks, and these Doom Beasts.
I'm a little surprised that we didn't, try to throw one of our Stygians into the 11-2, but maybe we were just worried about the barrier spell. And it is, when you're worried about a barrier spell in your opponent's hand, it's definitely better for you to play into that on defense rather than offense so that you're not losing that blocker for free.
Yeah, I agree with you. I feel like because it had vulnerable, it probably should have been grabbed by one of the Stygians. I don't think
here we go.
Matter,
this is... I can't count how many times we've seen this stand united lead.
It happens more often than not. Like, you think it's a really, not common situation, but literally I think every time we've seen this barrier deck play, it ends up happening. Wow. 20 damage, baby. 20 damage. Let's go.
Oh, man. You thought you were the combo deck. No. We get a 1-drop. A measly little 1-drop up to 15 attack. And then swap places. We do a little cha-cha slide, and all of a sudden your life point's at 0.
All right, and Void taking it home. So congrats to Void. OTK getting a win there. And as always, everybody, do not forget to subscribe. I always post a ton of tournament content to the channel. So if you're looking for more of that, hit the sub button, turn on the bell, and you'll get notified whenever I post up some content. And don't forget to smash the like button, of course. But as always, everybody, stay healthy, stay positive. I hope shit just works for you, and peace out.